Today, I am so excited to talk to Craig Dubitsky. He is a serial entrepreneur and just all-round good person who I met a shockingly long time ago. He was a founding board member for Method Home. We worked with him at Anomaly when he co-founded EOS to create the disruptive kind of spherical lip balm, which did pretty damn well. There it is. I almost did that. I've got one over there and I was like, should I do that? Anyway, then he went on to found and ultimately sell Hello Oral Care, which I don't know if you remember, but my team actually worked on pre-launched very, very early strategy. And then most recently, he's the founder and CEO of Happy, a brand of coffee on a mission to elevate the everyday, which he co-founded amazingly with Robert Downey Jr. We'll definitely talk about that. This new brand has scaled fast and isn't just seriously delicious coffee. It also cares for the mental health of the people drinking it, having partnered with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I think what's interesting, it's not just a benefactor, but an equity stakeholder in the company. Craig has endless optimism, energy, an incredibly generous of spirit. He's been named Advertising Age's Creativity 50 of Influential Thinkers, one of the 100 most inspirational marketers in the world by The Internationalist, and so much more. He loves brands, packaging, design, people, and I'm so grateful to have you on my podcast today. Hello.
Wow.
I know, you've done so much. It's such a long intro.
That's pretty wild. Well, thank you for having me. And sorry you had to read all that. And for those listening, sorry you had to hear all that. Yeah, super psyched to be here.
Amazing. I thought, you have done so much, hence the ridiculously impressive intro. For anyone that hasn't seen your latest venture, Happy, do you want to give us a quick elevator pitch?
Sure. Let's see. Happy. It's coffee with a conscience, I would say, in shortest sort of verbal strokes. The coffee itself, which is really important. I'm going to talk a little bit about how important it is to make sure the product is awesome, not just the brand, not just the packaging, not just your copywriting, not just your go-to-market strategy. The product itself has to be awesome. So the coffee itself is really great. We source from 3,000 farms. They're predominantly small grower farms, which means they're 2 to 5 acres. And they represent, get ready for this number, 0.00024% of known commercial coffee farms. So we're pretty discreet in terms of where and how we source. And I think roughly 40% or so of these farms are run by women. So right now we're sourcing predominantly from 7 countries, most of them in South America, but we also throw some Rwandan coffee into the mix because it tastes great. But the other reason we do it is because all the growers that we work with tend to be women because it was genocide and there aren't really any men around to do that work. So we wanted to be able to source from there as well. So long story short, the coffee is epic. It had to taste great. Otherwise people would say, oh, how clever. You named it Happy and coffee makes me happy. And you're such, clever marketers. Well, maybe not young, but, we wanted to go away from this notion of just cleverness and make sure that the quality was there. Cause the key is to try to make something that is as durable and endearing, yes, but really durable. So enduring and endearing, that's sort of the
yeah.
And if we can combine aesthetic and ethic together, then you put all that into a mix and you get something really special. So that's what we've tried to do with Happy. So amazing coffee, really thoughtful sourcing and thoughtful design too, because to look at it is to, it doesn't look like anything else on the shelf, and that's not an accident. So the dirty little secret I think about a lot of coffee is if it comes in a pouch, those pouches go directly into a landfill. So we wanted to do something a little different. So our packaging is 100% recyclable. It's reusable. It's resealable. I keep all my old USB drives in them because what you do with those old USB drives?
I
You
know.
find Bitcoin on there that someone gave you, like 5 years ago. That's worth a gazillion dollars. You'd miss it if you didn't have those old USB drives.
So I was amused when I was chatted to you, gosh, when you were still pre-launch, that you are not and you have never been a coffee drinker. So talk to me about how Happy came about.
So it's really funny. Yeah, I've never been a coffee drinker. Now I can say hand on heart, I have tried a bunch of coffee. But back in the day, I didn't even try any coffee. I had no coffee. And I'm married for a long time. We have 2 kids. Happy Mother's Day, by the way. It's the Monday after Mother's Day, if that's important, for the title of this lovely conversation. But at one point, our daughter said to me, "So, Dad, let me get this straight. You're going to start a coffee company and you don't drink coffee." And I said, "Yeah, I think that's on the docket." And she said, "That makes complete sense." That's well, please tell me why that makes complete sense. And she said, "Well, you didn't really love going to the dentist and you started this oral care company and that worked out okay. You don't know how to shave or like to shave, and you don't really care that much for lip balm because people are very addicted to lip balm. And that always disturbed me. But anyway, I started this other, thing, EOS, which you guys know about since we have some history there with Anomaly. And she's like, and that worked out. And you don't really like cleaning so much. Not that you're not a clean person, but the actual effort of doing the cleaning, not really your favorite thing. And this method thing kind of worked out. She just went down the list. And she's like, so of course it makes complete sense you're going to start a coffee company based on all the things that weren't really all that appealing to you before. So out of the mouths of babes. So I started Happy. I started really because I was asked to spend some time with a big retailer, and they'd asked me if I would basically be a thought partner for that with something they were working on. And I said, let me think about it. Yes. And I'm not a consultant. And I said, you can't pay me or hire me. I'm just happy you think of me that way. So I'll pay my way and I'll come spend some time with you. And while I was there, they said, hey, we really like how you think. Would you mind walking the store with some of our merchants? And I was like, would I mind walking the store? The store to be an art gallery. Like, let me think about it. Yes, please. So I started walking the store with a whole bunch of different buyers. And one of them was the coffee buyer. And, someone asked me, what do you think about something? Well, you're sparking the start of a conversation. It's like, I'm all in, especially if it's going to be about design or brand or retail or adjacencies on the shelf or you name it. So I just started going off on coffee, and I wasn't trying to be untoward, but I certainly, I guess, made fun of some brands and some of the language of the category that to me seemed a little silly, like bragging.
Updated.
Yeah, just bragging about your coffee is mountain grown. Well, all coffee grows on a mountain. There's no hydroponic coffee. There's no intergalactic coffee yet. I'm sure there's some people working on that. I'm lots of, I get pitched a lot of things. I've been pitched a lot of plant-based coffee. And I'm like, last I checked, coffee's a plant. So
Yeah. AI coffee.
plant is different. We can make it from, whatever. Just because you can doesn't mean you should necessarily. So anyway, I just sort of went off on what I thought, and that's really interesting. No one's ever said that to us before. Do you think you could help us sort of visualize what you're talking about? Could you do that for us so we could get a sense of what you're describing? And I went like I always do. Yeah, sure. I'm in the yes business, right? So I'm like, sure. Could I do that? I had no idea how I was going to do that, but sure, of course I can. So, I went about my business and I thought a lot about my bride, as I always do, and she loves coffee, like loves coffee. So I said, coffee makes her really happy. What if happy could make her coffee? And that's sort of where this idea of happy as a brand came from. And I have history with this idea of taking somewhat common sets of words and attaching them to a brand in a more sort of legally appropriate way, and beyond that. And I started going to work on the trademarking aspect of the thing. And then as it turns out, the world is magical. And I am the luckiest person. I really am
Yes.
this person. Not
Happy, happy, hello.
yeah,
Um,
right? I think I
yeah.
did your trademark lucky.
Well, yeah, I think you didn't you, and you worked with my husband on help, so maybe that's
Absolutely.
the
No stranger to
third
the power
H.
of one good word that starts with an H. Absolutely. So, um, yeah, it just kind of went from the fact that my bride loves coffee, makes her happy, this incredible retailer meeting. Hey, do you think you can help us visualize it? Just saying yes to things, basically.
Yeah.
And I was talking with a good friend of mine, and he's got a storied background in CPG and CPG investing, and he has a fund, and it turns out I'm part of this fund. And I was telling him this story about this retailer visit, and I said, I have no idea how I could even source this much coffee. And he said, I'll give you the PG version. Uh, Dumbass, we're investors in the largest vertically integrated coffee roaster in the world, right? Forgot about that. Shame on you. So through the good fortune of having been around the sun a few times and built lots of real friendships and relationships, um, I was connected to the largest vertically integrated coffee roaster in the world. And all of a sudden that started to make things very, very real because, what do I know about coffee? And then it turns out another, friend introduced me to someone who was a Q grader, and not a term I was ever familiar with, but if you like wine and you know what a sommelier is, to be
Yeah.
a licensed, registered, official sommelier, you have to be able to sniff whatever it is, swish around, swill whatever it is that they hand you, and be able to discern about 200 different unique attributes from whatever it is your provenance and the whole story of where these grapes are from, and it's pretty incredible, right? And if you're a Q grader, which is sort of the coffee equivalent of a sommelier, you have to be able to discern over 400 unique attributes. So, as rare as it might be to meet a fully registered sommelier, it's even more rare to meet a Q grader. There's only about, depending on which sort of I don't know what group that keeps track of this, but there's about 1,500 in the whole world. So, got introduced to one of the first three. I think actually he was like number 3 American Q graders on the planet, the first 300 Q graders on the planet. So I started to describe what I wanted to do, and all the pieces just started coming together, and it seemed like this is a really, nothing's going to be easy, but I thought there was a really big opportunity here, and then it just sort of kept going, and then Downey and I got connected. I can tell you about that if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing and surprising for you to suddenly get connected with a Hollywood superstar. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, since I've been Brad Pitt's stunt double for Dollars and Trip, I have these unique ties to Hollywood. And for those of you without any video, that's called a dad joke. That was a dad joke right there. So with capital D dad joke. So over a long period of time, I also, just good fortune, was introduced to someone who was a legendary guy in Hollywood, and I didn't know who he was because why would I know? I'm a kid from New Jersey. I don't know about these things. But um, I don't know how much I should or shouldn't share. But I developed this interesting relationship with some Hollywood agent people over years, and never was looking to do anything in Hollywood. And again, it was very. I'm going to sound like I'm full of it, but very innocent. I'm, I love people, and I wasn't looking for anything or looking to do anything in Hollywood or be involved with television or movies or celebrities. That's never been my thing. My thing is brands or celebrities. And I'm guessing and thinking a little bit out loud, which is always dangerous, but I think my purity in that regard was probably interesting to some folks because I didn't have any agenda with Hollywood or talent or celebrities or any of that kind of stuff. So anyway, this one person, this Hollywood person said, "Hey, are you still thinking about doing something in coffee?" And I said, "You're not going to believe it. This thing happened and that thing happened." And they said, well, are you looking for a partner? And I went, no. Like, why would I? No. Are you looking for a co-founder? I'm like, a co-founder? Like, why would I? No, I'm not looking for anything. I'm good. And he's like, well, are you looking for money? I said, no, I'm not really. Honestly, I'm not looking for anything. And he said, well, one of our special people, everyone's talented and amazing and lovely, but we might have one or two that might be a little more talented and lovely and special than others. And I said, I'd read Animal Farm and I knew, all animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. And I said, I think in your world, they call those A-listers. We laughed at me and said, well, one of our special people wants to start a coffee company. And I told their team they couldn't do anything until they spoke with you. Will you, at the very least, just do me a favor and speak with their team? And of course, I said yes. And long story made not too much longer. I was on the Zoom however many days later with a bunch of folks. And I sort of expected it to be like a scene from Entourage, like it was just going to be a lot of what I imagined to be slick people in Hollywood asking me, questions and trying to, tell me that they knew famous people and it was my lucky day kind of thing, which is totally wrong on my part and unfounded, but that was where my head was at. And I got on this Zoom and I was asked these intense questions I was totally not expecting. Like, how are you handling potential mold growth issues on cross-border contamination,
By his team or by him?
by the team? And I had no idea gender was never even used. I had no idea who this quote unquote celebrity was. If it was a man, a woman, nothing. So tell me how you're handling, if you're getting any product from Sumatra, how soil density issues in Sumatra, given the increase in humidity, is impacting the outer casing of, the cherry fruit. I'm like, what? And the cascara thickness and what? I was shocked. And after my jaw dropped and I sort of reattached my mandible, I had this history with this agency from before. So I started showing them some of the things I was thinking about working on. That I had this idea and it was called Happy. And they just start yelling at each other. I don't give a blank if he's with so-and-so, like get him on now. Like right now, I'm like, get who? Like Steven, like who, what? They go, I'm like, who's he with? Like, we don't care if he's a Spielberg. Just fucking get him on here right now. I'm like, who are we talking about? And they said, Robert Downey Jr. So 2 seconds later, Downey pops on this Zoom. And he's lovely and charming and all the things. And I don't know him from anything. And we have this very quick chat. And they go, show him the thing. Show him what it looks like. I had models and renderings and things. And tell him what it's called. And explain it's called Happy. And anyway, I had to go. I had another call. So I said, really nice to meet you. Good luck with whatever it is you're thinking about and coffee and, peace out. And they called me back and they were like, he's all in. I'm like, all in on what? They're like, no, he wants to do this with you. I'm like, do what with me? And I said, I really appreciate that, but I have this other call and I got to go. So I wasn't trying to play cute. I just, I was busy doing whatever I thought I needed to do. And anyway, long story short, I got this other phone call that said, hey, listen, I know you as a person. I know him as a person. And you two just need to talk. You have to get to know each other. And I know you're not, like a Hollywood celebrity sycophant guy. And I know more about him than you would ever know because that's not your world. And also, I've worked with him. And I know a lot about him. So anyway, we got on a one-on-one, I think it was a FaceTime. And it was supposed to be 45 minutes. I went for 3 hours and 40 minutes. And it was this really incredible connection, really. And I told him right up front, no disrespect, I didn't Google you, Wiki you, TMZ you, New York Post page 6 you. I didn't know anything. I didn't want to know anything unless it came directly from him, is what I told him. And I'm sure that was maybe a little out of the ordinary. And I had a weird guitar next to my desk, and he saw it and said, hey, is that a whatever? It's called a Steinberger. He's like, is that a Steinberger guitar? I'm like, you know that guitar? He goes, dude, there's a lot of dude. So it turns out we're very close in age. Maybe we're 6-7 months apart or something. And he had grown up in New York City originally. And we started going down these musical rabbit holes. And next thing you know, we're singing these deep cut, esoteric Elvis Costello tracks to one another. And
amazing.
there you couldn't fake that.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot about coffee in his life, and I heard a lot about his bride, and I told him a lot about my history, my wife. And I used to be a derivatives trader. I was a futures trader. And my wife was like, "What are you doing? This is not you. You originally, you're a creative person. You went to school for music and other things. Like, what are you doing with this financial nonsense? It's not what you are." So I explained that she basically saved my life and got me out of being what would have been a miserable existence as a derivatives trader. Base metals derivatives, how incredibly intoxicating I created is that. And yeah, she saved my life. And, I heard a lot about how Susan played this outsized role in Robert's life. So by the end of this conversation and hearing a lot about coffee in his world, um, I said, "I want to meet your wife and I want you to meet my wife." And he's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I was like, "No, no, I'm serious." He's like, "Yeah, you sound very serious." And I said, "Yeah, in life, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. But when you start a company, it's like being able to choose your family. So I want to meet your family and have you meet my family." And he's like, "Great." So we set up this call. My wife was really upset with me because she's like, "I have to get on a call with some Hollywood superhero person and his wife. Like, that's you being you. Like, that's not me." And I said, "Oh, please, they're in, California, they're in Hollywood, they're in Malibu, they don't want to talk with normies like us in the suburbs. It'll be quick. They have red carpets to walk down. Trust me, it'll be like 10 minutes." And the same thing, it went for over 2.5 hours. And when we got off, it was funny. Like, we had to go because we were on the East Coast. It was getting late for us. So we had to go. And my wife was like, "That was amazing. They were great. Why wouldn't you do this?" And they kept building on your ideas. You were building on their ideas. Everybody's respectful and laughing, having a great time, and making the ideas better and better as you went along. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do this? Because of ego or economics, or like those things aren't like your thing. Like, why wouldn't you do it? And she was absolutely right. So anyway, we did all the secret handshakes.
Yeah.
And he's been a real co-founder. And people ask, "Oh, is he a spokesperson?" I'm like, "No, it's not that he doesn't."
Not a creative director. Yeah.
It's not like one of these sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
guy roles. We would have launched many months earlier, but he was shooting. He was shooting something, a series called The Sympathizer, and he was in Vietnam. We were overnighting him product, when we were working on blends with timers, thermometers, Chemex, pour over stuff. It was and scales to make sure everything we were tasting in real time was like for like.
Amazing.
And working on these blends, we put a lot of time and energy and effort into the sourcing and the really the percentage of which countries products were where, and making sure the supply chain could be robust enough that we could do this at scale and keep the quality consistent. So that was it. And then one day we were talking and he's like, "Not everybody's happy. What can we do about that?" And my bride was sitting behind me and she's a PhD in clinical psych. And I'm like, "Honey, who's doing anything at scale around mental health that's really, like, really, really doing it?" And she goes, "Oh, NAMI." I'm like, "What's NAMI?" "Oh, National Alliance on Mental Illness." So I use the Google, I use the LinkedIn, I connect with some folks, and next thing you know, I convince them to give me some time. I go down to Washington, D.C., or Arlington, Virginia, really, and meet with the senior executive team there and explain what we want to do and learn a lot more about NAMI. And the more I learned, and I'll throw out some stats that are really staggering, the more it became very obvious that we needed to do something that was a little different, and that this was going to be an important bit of what this whole
Yeah.
company and ethos and idea that we had and set of ideals were really going to be about. So this super quick version of these data points: 1 in 5 adults have some form of mental illness in the US, treatable stuff, and which is a staggering percentage, right? 20%, 1 out of 5. The suicide rate has gone up 30% in the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
For teenagers, when I was a kid, the number one killer of teens were car accidents, followed by leukemia, childhood leukemia, cancer. Now it's handguns are number 1 and suicide is number 2, and often 1 and 2 go together. And, the numbers are just, to say they're alarming is
Yeah.
really an understatement. So when I heard about these numbers and asked a little bit more about how NAMI does what they do, and by the way, they started 988, which is the 911 for mental health.
Hmm.
It's only 2 years old. They've already gotten over 10 million calls. This is like, these are real numbers. They said the number one thing they hear from people, because NAMI offers free help and it's more professional help. The number one thing they hear is, if only I known about you, see.
Yeah.
No, we say, well, that's an awareness issue. We could help you with that. And they said, well, what do you mean? We said, well, we're going to make these amazing products in these beautiful packs, and we're going to get them in everywhere. And what if we put information about NAMI on every package?
Yeah. Amazing. I've seen that.
Yeah,
Such a massive part of the branding and the idea. And I do love that.
It's baked in from day
Yeah.
zero. So it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
oh, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, which, by the way,
Yeah.
again, so let's do a thing. And every time we flip the calendar page, there's a new cause, because that's what, we've
Yeah.
done. And we didn't want to sort of, do something performative and co-opt all the goodwill that NAMI over the past 40 something years has generated. That didn't seem fair. So we just want to help them with awareness. We want to do more than that. And what we ended up doing was we gave them a piece of the company.
Yeah.
So they're an equity stakeholder on the cap table, the business, because personally, I don't like when brands or businesses talk about something they've done from a quote unquote charitable perspective. And then it turns out they go, oh, we're giving you a piece of the profit. Oh, you know what? Sorry, there was no profit. We took everybody. Oh, it was Omakase Wednesday at work. And, every Wednesday for the past year, we've been taking everybody out for amazing sushi. So sorry, there are no profits, but
Yeah.
glad we got to tell your story and use it to make our story, that much more enhanced.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to do that. So this is one of the ways we worked around it. And we're very, we're very much partnered. We actually just released something the other day. It's on our website now. We made this poster because we have this revelation. We went to a brainstorming session with NAMI, and we spent a few days together. And I don't really know where this came from, and I don't want to sound like I'm taking any credit. So I'm just going to use the broader thing. It just kind of happened magically. It really did in this brainstorming session. That almost every restaurant you go into or every break room in every business has a choking poster. Like, what did you have from this choking? And we did a quick search, and it was something like 5,000 people maybe have a choking incident in a public place. But the number of people that take their life from suicide is, to say it's an order of magnitude higher than that, it's more than 10x that number. And yet there's no poster to help you. You can identify if someone's choking, and there's a poster to tell you what to do, but there's no poster to help you figure out if someone's having a mental.
Yeah.
So we made these posters, and we went to this conference, and it turns out, totally out of nowhere, the superintendent of schools for South Florida, Miami-Dade, which I believe is the second largest school district in the country, holds up this poster and goes like, we're putting these in every school. And we've gone from nothing to, I think we've had like 2,000 different schools approach us. And we just did something with the national, I'm going to get the acronym wrong, but basically they're like the National Organization for Parent Teacher Associations.
Yeah.
And we're doing this, and we're giving these things away, and you can print it out from our website. And it's just trying to make this notion of mental health into health, and to take the stigma away. And if we can do that, that's going to save a lot of lives. It's going to save a lot of hardship. And I can tell you this, hand on heart, since starting this, every single day, today no different, every single day I hear a story from someone who I've either just met or someone who I thought I've known really well for a long time that tells me a mental health story that's just a complete and utter heartbreak.
Yeah.
And, someone I'm very close with, or at least thought I was incredibly close with, and now in many ways I'm even closer with them, told me out of nowhere, and I'd known this person for 20 years, oh, well, this matters a lot to me because when I was a teenager, I have a brother who took his life. And
so many stories.
Yeah. So we have to do something, and it's imperative. And I think it goes beyond this notion of what's our purpose, our mission. A lot of brands talk about our, which is a substitute for my, right? What's my purpose? What's my mission? And what I shared with the team was this is about our collective responsibility because this impacts so many people. And, you know, if you're LGBTQ plus, it's not Pride Month, it's Pride picosecond. Every second is
every time. Yeah.
you're suffering from mental health. We care about mental health. It's not Mental Health Awareness Month. It's every second. If you care about the planet, it's not Earth Month or Earth Day or Earth Week. So the idea that we can, you know, create things that are going to hopefully generate meaning beyond the notion of just brand and emotional and social connectivity through typeface and tone of voice, you know, going beyond that,
Yeah.
I think is the next level. And we're really,
Yeah, totally. I do. I mean, one of the things that I think is really apparent in everything that you've done from the beginning is, you know, you're a true believer in the power of a brand.
totally.
Multi-dimensional, everything from design to product to storytelling. Can you talk a little bit about that? What makes a good brand?
I think that I think everything communicates everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I mean, what you name your company, sure.
Yeah.
Do you refer to the people you work with as employees? Ugh. Like how you refer to one another. The order in which your name appears on the website, the fact that you do appear on the website, you know, the humanization of almost everything is part of this notion that everything communicates. And, you know, cave people wrote on the walls, they drew pictures. Like we've always wanted to communicate. And I don't think there are any boring categories. There's just some lackluster executions. And if you think that everything communicates and people care about everything, then you as a brand owner, holder, shepherd, steer, fellow communicator, it's incumbent upon you to take that mantle and run with it and know that even the shape of your UPC should mean something. You know, I mean, everything.
Yeah.
So I think
Everything is media.
absolutely. And I think good brands, I think they don't have to try that hard. I think hopefully they attract a level of thoughtful joiners and practitioners, and that output becomes very clear because the input was the same. That it wasn't sort of this function of we started here and we're trying to get to, you know, we started point A, we're trying to get to point B. They're almost like it's a constant. It's and I think people have a bullshit meter and they can tell. They can tell if the thought was there to begin with when they see something and they go, whoa, what's that? You know, I've seen people post on LinkedIn and some people have been like, well, that looks out of sorts in the category and that looks like vitamins or that looks like whatever. And I'm sort of like, it's killing me to not respond. They'll respond. And I love reading the comments. And I'm like, well, have any of these people ever created a brand from nothing? Like, not to use that as the benchmark, but like, okay, probably not. In some cases, definitely not. And I'm sort of like, well, you just proved the whole point because you bothered to pick the thing up and write about it. And the part that kills me is, did you find out that we source the way we source and that, you know, we're like the actual product is good and we're winning awards for how good the coffee is? Did you bother to read that those pouches, even if you like Indonesian civet pooped out high-end coffee, that bag goes right into a landfill? Like, did you bother? But no, they're going to comment on things like, it looks different than the rest of the category. And I'm holding up this EOS sphere because I can't tell you how many people told me, obviously, you know, the chapstick. And I was like, chapstick is a brand. Lip care is a category. Chapstick is a brand. And it's, and you know, everyone told me method wouldn't work and EOS wouldn't work. And hello, you can't do that. You're not a dentist. You can't make toothpaste. Hello became the fastest selling, fastest growing oral care brand in North America, right?
Yeah.
And all these geniuses told me no. So I think a good brand also has an incredible number of passionate, convicted people that touch everything because they know every little thing is part and process to making something beautiful. and better, whether better is more organic or more natural or more
Yeah.
transparent in the supply chain. Like we define better a lot of different ways. More affordable could be better, right? So however you define it, it's just this notion that someone cared so much about every little bit that it came through, and you could tell with immediacy that there was something behind it.
Yeah.
I don't, and again, a lot of these older brands, they're legacy brands, they're incredible brands, but the guests will never have me to their house. I'm sure I'm sure, I didn't mean to pick on Maxwell.
No, no, totally. But there's no soul. There's no driving visions.
Yeah, it's just that was great, years ago. And those are, again, I feel bad because I don't like to pick on individuals,
Yeah.
but I just mean, sometimes let me back up. Not sometimes. It used to be as something had been around for a long time. That was an incredible indicator of quality because it withstood this incredible test, this test of time, right? The test of time. It's really funny because everyone fails the test of time. Like time is always going to kick your ass and win. So like the test of time, like, okay, that brand is 200 years old. I don't know any people that are 200 years old, and so time always wins. But like, I like to be in the now. I want to create things that are relevant now. And just because it was relevant 100 years ago or 200 years ago doesn't mean it's particularly great. I mean, a lot of things existed 100 years ago that I'm glad we don't have any, I'm glad cholera existed a while ago. I'm glad that's not here either. So not to compare brands to
Maxwell House to cholera. No, it's quality versus and relevancy versus category management.
Yeah, relevance is the key. I think, people use this word innovation a lot, and I think that's a little bit of a throwaway word too. If it's not culturally, emotionally relevant, and economically relevant, meaning I can afford it, and economically relevant, meaning I can run as a business by creating and producing this stuff, has to be economically viable for everybody. And by the way, people who help you sell it need to make margin also. So, relevance is everything. And I think if you do it right and you share the way I think people now are absorbing information and seeking out information, then they join. They don't just transact with you, because transactions by their definition are very, discrete and finite and quick. And we're trying to build things that are not so quick. We're trying to build things that are going to be around for a while. Hopefully not for, I should say not for hundreds of years. I hope, we create things that morph and change with people, not just hearken to the past.
Yeah. And I think, everything is media, building in an idea into the brand that communicates, starts creating some of that marketing. How do you think about marketing for something like Happy? Obviously creating advocates, tapping into people that care. Like what is your kind of playbook?
That's a great question. I think we're trying to do it a little differently, but the reality of it is most people buy coffee through these very traditional channels. There's a group of people that are very happy to experiment with coffee and don't really stay super loyal. They're just constantly experimenting. And that's a certain group. And I wouldn't say that's really our group. I hope they all will try us, because to try it is to love it. Like our repeat rate is really high because the quality is there. But I think for us, going into retail, traditional retail, was really important, because that's still where the bulk of these products are bought and sold. And we're trying to make something super esoteric
And
for
autopilot.
Yeah, I made up this term. It was the first interview I actually had with Downey at the same time, which was a lot of fun, a media moment. And I just sort of made up this word, and I said, we're not for the baristocrats. We're for, like every day, like we're making really high quality coffee, but making it available to everyday people. And I made up this term aristocrat, which may have offended some people who were very esoteric in their coffee taste, but I didn't mean it as an obnoxious, jab to anybody. I meant it that we were for everybody. And for us, going into places like Walmart, Target, CVS, Albertsons, Kroger, HEB, Amazon.com, Happy, was to make it accessible from a price point standpoint, yes, but also in terms of how you physically can get product. So being in the doors was important, and then trying to remove whatever economic barriers we could, like using price promotion, like it's on sale. Like as I could tell you from here to tomorrow, all the attributes that make our product we think, very attractive to people, but there's still a lot of folks that just are very price conscious, and that's okay. I think to not acknowledge that is is kind of inappropriate. It's just not, it's not good business, and it's not reality. People have hardship. We might all be listening to podcasts and doing
Yeah.
different things in the lion's share of the US populace. We have to be mindful
Yeah.
what's out there.
This is a mass brand that
Totally a mass brand.
a mass appeal.
Yeah, we're not trying to win the most esoteric recognition and hope that the coolest factor filters down. We think what's really cool is making a better product and making it available to more people. And, I've had people also say like, oh, your pack for this ground coffee, it's plastic and the world doesn't need more plastic. And I totally agree. So I explain whenever the situation avails itself that, again, those pouches go into a landfill. So good luck with that. And the other thing I say is that recycling is a business. And a lot of people forget that. And a lot of things that say they're recyclable don't get recycled. So we were very careful about how the dimensions of this work within the context of most MRFs, most local regional recycling centers, and what the materials were, so that we chose the materials that were the most likely to want to be recycled because there's a secondary market. And we made the dimensions such that someone in recycling can actually make money from recycling this. So we thought about all that stuff. And there are people who don't necessarily have the time or bandwidth or wherewithal to do all that research, and I don't blame them. It's incumbent upon us to educate and to share what we've learned and what we've done, but not browbeat anybody, So it just takes time. And again, the way I think a lot of the stuff happens in terms of building the brand is patience and perseverance and going out there and telling your story as much as you can. And then hopefully, if the story is good enough, other people start taking up the mantle and sharing it and go, did you see this? Did you know this? And that's all. And I think you have to create something that's story worthy.
Yeah. I always loved your hello, eating toothpaste and showing, not just telling that it's actually not, toxic.
Yeah. We actually just came back from a trip to Colombia where we spent about 8 days or so with a lot of our growers there, most of whom are women. And we set up a mental health related program that we put together with NAMI and with local social workers and psychologists in Colombia. And we brought this women's group together to talk about this. And we brought some film crews with us to capture what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And we think all these little bits will start to come out, and people will realize this is a set of ideals, not just, oh, how clever, they have a lowercase single word brand name called Happy. What a again, like, I'm all in favor of it. I think it's if I had to choose a word, that's certainly one that kind of goes out to me. But it's adding the layers to the story so that when people dig in a little bit, there's some substance there. And again, I don't think it's about storytelling; it's about story being. Like, we have to live it, If we're doing it, then it's like this perfunctory, kind of high effort nonsense that we think people can see through. So, living it.
Well, I feel like that's one of the things that I think you've always done. You've really lived it. I'm conscious that we don't have much time left.
Oh, no.
There's so much. You would laugh if you looked at my discussion guide. There's so much we haven't covered. We're going to go to the last. You got 10 minutes.
Lightning round.
We're going to do a lightning round. So you've got to keep it concise, and I'm going to keep trying to get
highly caffeinated round. That's what
I know. Well, first lightning round question. You don't drink coffee. How do you get your energy? How do you get an energy boost?
I should say honestly, I'm always honest. I wake up and every day I'm just happy it's another day. So I'm naturally internally motivated. I that's the only answer I have. I've never had taken drugs. I'm not anti caffeine or anything, but yeah, just I get up and I'm fine.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me one of your guilty pleasures.
Um, Having guitars that I can't play very well. I have more guitars than a person should have, especially one with no skills. So yeah, that's a guilty pleasure for me.
Okay. Favorite Robert Downey movie?
Favorite Robert Downey movie? Damn. Um, Rodney Dangerfield, Back to School, incredible. And also I gotta say, like Tropic Thunder, because you couldn't make that movie today, no matter what. And there's some things in there that I think are just, really, really hysterical. And yeah, I'll put myself out there and say I think Tropic.
It's pretty good. Best career advice, worst career advice. Quickly.
Given or taken?
Uh, Either. Your dealer's choice.
Okay. Best career advice that I can share with someone is do the work. I can't tell you how many folks get in touch and they ask for things without having done the work up front. And I always tell people, because I try to avail myself to anyone and everyone. So if you want to get in touch, please do if you're listening. But
Which I can attest, that literally is true. I was talking to Richard and I was like, I'm thinking of asking Craig. I don't know if he'll say yes. And Richard, my husband, literally said, Craig says yes to everyone.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, if anyone wants to, yeah, I'm dead serious. Yeah, my cell, I'll give it to you. It's 917-392-1000. People are magical and amazing. And I have had very few bad experiences, to be honest, with people that I don't know who've gotten in touch. So I love people. If I can ever be helpful, I certainly try. So many people have been so helpful to me. So yeah, I try.
They have to do the work. They have to do the work.
The work. That's the thing. So I've had people call up and, under false pretenses, and they'll ask for all sorts of things. And I'm like, you didn't even bother to look. Like, if you're going to ask somebody for their time and you want to ask them ridiculous questions, like, don't do that. Like, at least there's plenty of stuff out there to like do a little research. I'll just a quick story. At one point at Hello, we were growing, and we were bringing all sorts of people, and they would sort of save me for the end, just because they're like, well, you're a hyperbolic founder guy. We have real work to do here. So we're going to save you for the, and people would come in and I'd say like, so what'd you brush your teeth with today? And people would say like, I don't know, like Sensodyne or Crest or whatever. And I'd be like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
Our cup is $5. It's available everywhere.
Rookie mistake.
You didn't even bother to buy, even if you weren't smart enough, like lie to me. Just lie. Tell you're in our office. I just can't tell you how many people would do that.
Oh my God.
They wouldn't have a single idea of what to do. They would tell me all the things they did at a big company. And we all know at big companies, a lot of people touch the work. So they would tell me about all the things they did and all the things they wanted. And they would never tell me a single idea that was going to make our thing better.
Yeah.
So do the work and blow somebody's mind. Like someone that I had as a mentor, and I was too young to realize they were even a mentor of me, pointed this out to me later in life because they had known me my whole professional life. And they said, we have this other thing in common besides music. We were big music wonks together and trader people. And he said, you and I have made every job we've ever had. Even inside of big companies where I worked, you never applied for a job. I did the work ahead of time and said, have you ever thought about this?
That's great advice.
Tell people you got to do the work. And the thing is, even if whoever you're sharing that with has 90% of those ideas, they're going to think, wow, we're on the same wavelength. And they actually did do some work. And by the way, maybe the reason we haven't done those things yet is because we didn't have you. And you're the person we've been looking for this whole time. So yeah, do the work, blow somebody's mind. Like, don't be scared of like, oh, I don't want to share all my stuff. It's that. Share.
Worst career advice.
Worst career advice is wait till you have an offer.
What do you wish you'd learnt earlier in your career?
How to play the piano.
What do you think? I'm really curious. What do you think your superpowers have been that have helped you succeed?
Positivity and optimism, 1,000%. Because things, nothing goes straight to the way you want it to. There's a lot of barriers, and I think you have to either, if a wall goes up, convince enough people to work with you to break through the wall, stand on each other's shoulders and pull you up so they can take you over the top of the wall, dig underneath the wall, find someone who's got, endurance that could run until they find the end of the wall and run around and throw a rope over the wall. Like, if you're not positive and optimistic, forget it. And I think, my big thing is I have no fear of failure. I have fear of not trying. Because if you haven't tried, you've already failed in a way. So, which I guess is part and parcel to optimism and positivity.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very, very growth mindset. Which
I just every day I'm like, what can we do? Like, look where we live, look what we have access to. Like, people tell me all the time, like, well, I don't have any money, I can't do that. I'm like, you can crowdsource things. Like, there are professional investors that would love to hear of your brilliant idea. Do the work. Or they say, oh, I don't know anybody at this company, or I don't know how to find somebody. There's Google, there's LinkedIn. If you do the work up front and it's really good, you will blow somebody's mind. Be positive and optimistic and do someone's work for them and blow them away. And you'll see doors will open that you never even realized were there for you.
What do you try and get better
at? Besides guitar and piano, listening, which clearly, given how much you've said compared to how much I've said, I'm still not very good. But I try to get better at listening for sure.
Do you
this one fellow, when I was a trader, who unfortunately I lost way too early. His name's Hunt Taylor. Was Hunt Taylor. My father-in-law was a really interesting mentor, and my father was a lifelong entrepreneur and always sort of lived by his wits, and that was certainly great. My mom was I think a would-be artist who never really had the outlets that she wanted to, and always told me, just try. Like, you have nothing to lose. Like, why don't you just try? So those were all important players for me. And I don't know.
I had a whole question exploration around how, what inspired your entrepreneurial spirit. But I think that we only have time for the last question. So tell me someone that you're professionally jealous of.
Oh my. This is all right. Now, how much time do we have? And how many can I name?
3 minutes for you've got your call in 3 minutes.
All right, a whole bunch. Let's see. In no particular order. David Byrne, just incredible. On so many levels, like an artist and a different kind of thinker on so many levels, and being able to have a career just by thinking that way. George Lois, another like legendary, design person. Oh God. I mean, there's just so many. Paul Ray, a lot of design people. Obviously I can't not say Johnny Ive, because come on, Johnny Ive. And Mike Houston, incredible. God, I mean, who else? Leonard Cohen. That's a decent list.
I mean, Eric, we didn't even talk about design properly. Another area that I didn't get to. Anyway.
Design. Yeah.
I know. Craig, I'm so grateful. I could have spoken to you for hours.
Yes.
I would love to find a way, which I'm going to send you an email about, to be useful, and maybe see if there's anything I can do to help you with Happy. But thank you again.